of what we call UFOs. Now these things have been here from the very beginning. If you look clearly at the art, now here's a question. People that say, oh, God is bullshit, the aliens did it. Well, why do you think? Then ask yourself the question. Why do you think in Christian art they put UFOs and flying ships and different things? Not to say, well, here's the secret that you don't know, we're having a laugh at you, but to say these things are from God. For prophets and good people to come and speak good things to people. Be loving. Love yourself and you will love others. Stop hating others and stop hating yourself. Love. That's the message. You see, when you say God is out of the picture, it's just aliens, then you're putting physics. You're putting physics science into it and to undermine, to devalue the purpose of messages, the purpose of your life. You know, I find this remarkable. The ancient alien theory doesn't contradict God and vice versa. It all fits into a beautiful package. If I and so many others readily accept this, there shouldn't be a problem for you. You know, you see on the videos, you know, Eric von Daniken, Graham Hancock, it's David Childress, etc. etc., etc. What do they all think? There are a few of them that say, oh, well, maybe I'll denounce my Catholicism that I inherited upon birth. But does that mean that they rejected God? No. You have to put the pieces together. Especially the younger generation, the original advocates. They've been around for. What if I told you this? What if I told you that people throughout history, and look at the art, look at the artwork, UFOs and aliens and all sorts of creatures that we don't see on a day-to-day basis. Throughout history, going all the way back, people knew, people talked about it, people revealed it. And just as some of them, most of them would be rejected, a lot of them are being rejected now. But look, now in a hopefully more and more free-thinking world and a tolerant world, then we can start to understand these things are true. You know, people can come with a fancy argument, but unless you really investigated it, it's just going to bounce off. It doesn't have credibility. I would say putting religion and science together where they meet perfectly, that is where the big brothers, the watchers are. When we do that, and we're still fighting, science versus religion, it's God, it's the aliens, no! If we can join them, like what I've done, like what countless people have done, then guess what? Holiness with technology, using it responsibly. When we're at this level, we'll really be graduated, and then there's levels higher than that. You know, I talk about, and people talk about in their books, like Daniel Pinchbeck is quoting in his book, his 2012 Return of Quetzalcoatl, and he's quoting the fact that we will become the Mayans. There we go. Talking about being post-technologists. And these people talked about the Star Brothers. You know, we have to look at, and here's another big point, and I think I've said it in other videos too, guys. We have to look at the ancient stories of the ancient people and look at them with a fresh new set of spiritual eyes, an awake face, an open mind, a hungry mind, a magnet mind, and say, the stories all over the world that say Star Brothers came down, showed us some things, helped us a bit, and left saying we would return. Is that a coincidence that all over the world, where people didn't talk to each other, we're only barely doing it now, in Australia, in South America, in Africa, in Europe, all over the place, the story is the same. Let's look at it and take it seriously. You see? Now I understand the reasons why people could reject and say, oh, God didn't do it, it's aliens, because look what happened to religion. It became poop. It became such a manipulative jail cell. Most religions are prison religions. Christianity, Islam, etc., so on and so forth. Because they divide people. Anything that says, I have it right, you have it wrong, you're my enemy. When you put that last part into it, you failed the understanding. You didn't grasp it, because it's not about dividing, it's about tolerance and love and peace. The whole thing is love, tolerance, and peace. And expansion, expanding the mind, expanding the heart. If not that, what's the bloody point? You know? So thinking of it that way. So when religion failed, people can say, oh, now this. Now if you go too far on the other hand and say, oh, it's just aliens, it's just science, there's no God, that's also false. And then because it's false, and it's an extreme, the other extreme comes back and says, hey, that's rubbish. So you see how there's this fight. But guess what? The more you learn of both, the more you build closer and closer, and then you finally meet, and then there's a zenith. And then there's cognizance. There's recognition. There's not belief, there's recognition. You know, unless something is morally wrong, unless something is an attack on innocence or on justice or on honor or on the good, then look at it and don't be afraid. Whatever. And even if it is morally wrong and whatnot, accept the challenge and be strong in yourself to say, I'm sorry, but if that's the voice of anger and fear making an attack, then that will need to be corrected. And that's probably the better attitude to go about it. Now, I'm not going to go and make all these points about the proof of ancient astronaut theory. It wasn't the point. My main point of this talk was to put the two and bridge the two together. Yes, there is a God, but it's not a narrow-minded religion. And yes, there are aliens, if you want to call them that, such a bad name. And they don't take away God's status. See it as working together. That's the point. There's no contradiction. There's no problem whatsoever, guys. Look at it. There are so many books, there are so many videos to look at, and you should do it. I've looked at a lot. I've read a lot of books. I've looked at a lot of videos through my time. I only started signing up to YouTube very recently, but I must have thousands of views. Looking at this whole thing, the early Eric von Daniken video, Chariot of the Gods, up to the very present. Look how clear things are becoming. Now here's a little throw in the monkey wrench. What if I said to you guys, very soon, if a huge, massive amount of big star brothers and sisters are going to come back. They were always here, but I mean come down in a visible multitude for all to see. They will. It is very, very soon. Trust me. Trust me, it's very soon. When it does, what's going to be your position? My position is going to be, oh, there they are, and it was about time. I'm ready to get out of here. I'm ready to stop the conflict and fighting. I'm tired of it. So when they come back, when the Christ consciousness returns in a better form via the vehicle of higher beings, when the Christ returns, to put it that way, when Krishna comes back as the great white horse, to put it that way, when Quetzalcoatl comes back, to put it that way. You know Quetzalcoatl? You see the artwork, the multitude of circles, right? Like a certain bunch of circles linked together looking like an S or a spiral. You know, look at the videos that Jaime Maussan, the Mexican reporter, he has lots of videos from various Mexican people. What's one guy? Arturo Robles Gil. I hope I pronounced that right. He's a sky watcher. He films the sky literally all the time. He's submitted so many videos. You'll see these circles, circle formations of UFOs. That's exactly it, UFOs. And as they can separate and come back, they can often link together to share energy, to do a rest. By a type of magnetism, they stay together. They can branch off and do what they want, make a nice visual effect for us. So look at that. I just want to mention that quickly, the Quetzalcoatl. And in Asia, in China and Japan, the flying dragon. And out of the dragon came a human being. That's interesting. Well, I'll tell you the truth. When seeing these, linked circles of UFOs. They came down a circular craft in a formation, and out came humanoids. And they spoke to the people and they helped them. So there's your Quetzalcoatl and there's your flying dragon. And what often came out was a Caucasian with facial hair, often looking tall. Some of them had, light colored hair, some had orange colored hair, others not. And if you don't believe me, look at the depiction of Quetzalcoatl, for example. Very interesting. So this is, and to talk about DNA and things, that's a whole other chapter I could talk about, right? But look at the similarities and see how these are true, and see how these beings talked about our peace. They weren't dead robots that came to steal things and all sorts of rubbish. They came to give peace, the message of love. They sent many great ascended masters down to the planet throughout all the history. They gave people dreams and messages. They inspired people with ideas to do things, to create great